Yeah, cool!
A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks.
The end of the final lap, and we've got a champion.
And clicks. For kids who love everything on wheels, choose a Lego set. A gift that always clicks.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Systane Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Systane Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
I'm JJ Virgin, PhD dropout, sorry mom, turned 4-time New York Times bestselling author. Yes, I'm a certified nutrition specialist, fitness Hall of Famer, and I speak at health conferences and trainings around the globe. But I'm driven by my insatiable curiosity and love of science to keep asking questions, digging for answers, and sharing the information I uncover with as many people as I can. And that's why I created the Well Beyond 40 podcast, to synthesize and simplify the science of health into actionable strategies to help you thrive. In each episode, we'll talk about what's working in the world of wellness, from personalized nutrition and healing your metabolism to healthy aging and prescriptive fitness. Join me on the journey to better health so you can love how you look and feel right now and have the energy to play full out at 100. So the interview you're about to see, I actually got to record in person with Shawn Stevenson at his podcast studio. I was coming into LA to go to a gala for Dr. Daniel Amen and his wife, Tana. They had their end of mental illness gala, and Dr. Amen has done so much to support me over the years, so I wanted to make sure I was there to support him back. So I went to the gala with Shawn and his awesome wife, Anne, who I've had the opportunity to hang out with a bunch. And then also my girlfriend, Cynthia Garcia of the Institute for Transformational Nutrition and the Modern Coach School. And then my buddy, Dr. Reef Kareem, and his girlfriend, Liz. By the way, funny fact, Dr. Reef Kareem was supposed to be my co-star on Freaky Eaters, but he ended up getting another show that never even ended up going. So I ended up doing the show with Dr. Mike Dow. So finally, I find out I'm coming into LA. I'm like, Shawn, we can actually do this in person. So I did his podcast, The Model Health Show, which you definitely want to subscribe to. So much great information there. And then he did my show. And what I figured out after we did my show was that I need to have Shawn on as a regular. He has so much great information all around eating, sleeping. You think of his 2 books, Eat Smarter and Sleep Smarter. And then he's done so many great podcast interviews. I mean, his show has millions of downloads a year. It's the #1 health podcast. So he has so much great actionable information, and we dig into fat loss and metabolism. You know, those are 2 of my favorite subjects, and I'm guessing if you're dialed in here, yours too. So let me tell you a little bit about Shawn. Beyond just the Model Health Show, he has been featured in so many different media outlets: Forbes, Fast Company, the New York Times, Muscle and Fitness, ABC News, ESPN, etc. And he also co-founded the Advanced Integrative Health Alliance as well. He wrote 2 books. You'll want both of them, Eat Smarter and Sleep Smarter. And we'll be talking a lot about the information from Eat Smarter today, so you'll get a little taste of what you'll get when you grab the book. I'm going to put all of the information from today, because we refer to a lot of good stuff, and I know he's going to supply us with some studies and more goodness at jjvirgin.com/Model Health Show. All right, I'll be right back with Shawn. Stay with me.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, oh yeah, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
Okay, so I'm so excited to dig into everything around fat loss and metabolism. I think you know a little bit about this. I'm pretty sure we might have touched sleep. We'll definitely talk eating, all the good stuff, because I finally have you in person, Shawn. Darn, how long did that take? Years.
Forever. I'm grateful to hang out with you.
I had to push my way into your office.
Took the jacket off. Let's go.
Let's go,
do
dude.
this.
Well, let's talk first. I still get crap about fighting around calories. What do you think about the whole calories in, calories out model here?
I think the best way to be able to kind of dissect the conversation and get to a place of reality and congruency is to just step back and just think about, what is this exactly? Like, most importantly, where did it come from? Where did this scientific tenet come from? And so it sent me on this journey, and I spent quite a bit of time just exploring where the concept of the calorie came from. And I traced it back to its origins, which, funny enough, didn't begin in nutrition. This was something used in like physics and engineering. And it parlayed its way into nutrition once we were able to look at the energy content of a food. They were using something called a bomb calorimeter to actually basically incinerate a food and to see how much energy it was expending. Already we have an inaccuracy point because it's incinerating everything, and our human body is not like that. So this is one immediate friction point. There are also parts of nutrition that are not digestible. You know, if we're talking about a specific food and or how the body digests that thing, we might have a net change or net profit, net gain based on the macronutrient construct of the food. The list goes on and on and on. But anyway, so that's where it began. From there, where did it become popularized in nutrition? Because still, it's just like looking at what is all of the potential caloric construct of this food. When it became popular in nutrition was thanks in large part to a massive best-selling book in the early part of the 1900s from Dr. Lulu Hunt Peters. And her book was basically focusing on this change from thinking of food as food to looking at food as calories. So it was a paradigm shift. And so one of her tenets was, from now on, you're no longer going to eat a slice of bread. You're going to eat 100 calories of bread.
Oh my gosh, this woman just,
Right?
There's certain people in nutritional history that have just taken us down a really bad path.
Yeah. And this was around wartime, World War I, World War II. There's this time span where there was rationing of food as well. So coupling this idea of our push, now it's starting to become something in culture where, in particular, women were wanting to lose weight and to be this idealistic figure. And to do that, she used the science of calories to, again, shift our perspective from no longer looking at food as this incredibly complex asset, really, that becomes human tissue. And I struggle to even give it a name because it becomes who you are. So it's so much more than just numbers, to looking at it strictly as numbers. And by the way, little sidebar, she struggled with her weight throughout her lifetime.
Of course
as well.
she did, because she thought a calorie was a calorie. I literally had a doctor. I had one client who could not lose weight. So she goes to her doctor, and the doctor says, it is calories in, calories out. It does not matter if you eat those calories from apple pie or Brussels sprouts. It's the same. And I'm like, it's just obvious that couldn't be the case.
Well, now we have really sound science to affirm this, what you just said. Let me give one example. The quality of food itself, the type of food itself is going to determine the caloric impact that it has on your body. What I'm going to share with you, I call these epicaloric controllers. These control what calories do in your body. We already have this very simplistic label we've put on a piece of science, right? The energy content within a certain food, which is going to vary dramatically from person to person, from food to food, because we are not a bomb calorimeter.
Right. And by the way, probably the labels are not quite right either.
Oh, they're
as
not
we
even
know.
remotely close. All right. And also the number of calories you burning on the treadmill.
Right.
It's not close.
Well, you didn't
You know?
count your basal metabolic rate in there, so you just thought you burned 300
And
calories,
we're
but you
living
forgot
and
you already
dying
were.
by these things again. So this is one epicaloric controller, which is the type of food itself. And this was published in the journal Food and Nutrition Research. So the researchers decided to see what would the caloric impact be, or the expenditure of calories be, for test subjects who were eating a processed food sandwich versus a whole food sandwich. All right, the processed food sandwich was white bread and cheese product.
That was like my lunch every day growing up. I kid you not. I just had bologna on it too.
Oh yeah, got that bologna, the Oscar Mayer.
Margarine, bologna, white bread.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I thrive, man.
I remember when they put the cheese into the bologna itself. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, that was a innovation of humanity right there. So I remember my grandma would make me the lunch. The bologna now had little squares of cheese inside the bologna.
Why have to do more work?
But it's not cheese. Here's the thing. I said
it's cheese food.
Cheese
or cheese product
which is what Kraft singles are. And I just saw there's a big social media account that was doing a video on this. Yesterday, I just saw this. And I pushed that into culture a couple of years ago because I was looking into this. Like, why is it called Kraft singles? And it's because there has to be a certain amount of cheese in the cheese.
It's just like juice cocktail. Right? Juice cocktail can be like a little juice like with a lot of sugar.
It's a cheese blend.
Yeah.
You know, like an olive oil blend. But anyway, so that's what Kraft singles is. It's a cheese product. There's not enough cheese in the cheese. So we've got this sandwich, and then we've got the whole food version of the sandwich, which is, again, I'm not going to get into, the
politics of bread.
Yes.
We won't go there.
Now we've got a whole grain bread and cheddar cheese. The test subjects eat these various sandwiches, and the scientists look at the path of caloric assimilation and expenditure. And here's what they found. These two sandwiches on paper are the same. Same amount of calories, same amount of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. They should be the same. But here's what happened. When the test subjects ate the processed food sandwich, they had a 50% reduction in calorie expenditure, a calorie burn, post eating that sandwich. The whole food sandwich, they burned a certain amount of calories. Eating the processed food sandwich, they burned 50% less calories. Something happened with their metabolism that made it more sticky. It made that consumption of those calories, made the body hold on to it. I call it a hormonal clog happened. It changed the way their metabolism was functioning. It created a disruption. And really purely by the nature of the abnormality of the food itself. It's a confusing thing for our metabolism. These are newly invented things versus things that are a little bit more, have more of a resonance with the human body. Now, again, we can battle in this calories in, calories out paradigm, but guess what? There was a problem with the calories out. Something happened here, and we have to acknowledge that took place. And so that's one epicaloric controller, is the type and quality of food itself is going to determine what your body's going to do with those calories you consume. Right? And that's just one of them.
This one, I would imagine, like the gut microbiome.
This is another one.
There's got to be another one.
This is a huge epicaloric controller. And this research, one of them, this was published in the journal Cell. And the researchers found...
You're like a walking research manual. This is fantastic. I've got Google right here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, go ahead.
So this was published in the journal Cell. And the researchers discovered that there's a particular bacteria strain, and this was using an animal model, that literally blocked these little rodents' guts from absorbing as many calories from the food they were giving them. So there was a bacteria that suppressed their absorption of calories. Now, at first glance, humans were going to be like, give me that bacteria.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, it going to kill me? I don't care. I just want to get these pounds off. So this particular bacteria strain. Now, couple that with human studies, and this was from the Weizmann Institute, and they're doing great work on the microbiome there. They uncovered that there's a particular bacteria profile that's far more prevalent in people who are overweight or obese, right? And we're dubbing these, quote, fat bacteria. It's a shift in what the microbiome makeup is. There's so many ways we can articulate this, but I'm going to break this down into two classes of bacteria. We've got firmicutes, and we've got Bacteroidetes.
I've been pronouncing them wrong all these years.
There's so many ways you could say eat any of these. All right. Potato.
Okay, right? Good. I was like, firmicutes. Okay. Firmicutes.
I like firmicutes because firm and cute. All right. If you want, and this is from...
It makes so much sense because I was always like, okay, which one is the one I want more of? Which one? What's about?
The firmicute. If you want to be firmicute,
there you go. I'll never forget it.
Minimize the firmicutes though.
Oh.
Yes. With the higher ratio of firmicutes compared to Bacteroidetes, we see a higher rate of insulin resistance and higher rates of obesity. And this was from a huge database of identical twins.
Wow, that is so cool. That just had changed their diets.
Identical twins. Okay, you can't get more similar in a study. And what they would do is look at the various twins. And this is coming out of WashU, St. Louis University, these huge data sets. And this is from my hometown.
So what did they do to shift the F and Bs? Because did it make it then that they extracted more calories?
You can't say F and Bs.
Okay. The firmicutes and the Bacteroides. Because from what I've seen, when you have them out of balance, you extract more calories from the food you eat and store it as fat. I always thought that is like ridiculously unfair. But did they take the sets and then one poor twin got their microbiome
So this
disrupted?
was more of an outcome than an intervention, right? So this is observational.
Okay, because that would be mean.
Yeah.
Like who'd want to be the one?
Exactly.
Guess
Because
what you
the
get.
great news about this is that we're taking, and by the way, I said you can't say F and B's because it sounded like super dirty.
F and B's, it's food and
You just said it
beverage.
again, and you're looking at me and you said it. F and B's.
My brain didn't go there, Shawn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, just saying.
I'm not going to blame my wife, but man.
Holy smokes.
If you only knew.
All right.
Anyway,
I come from putting on events. F&B is food and beverage. For any of you dirty-minded people out there, like, quit it.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. Come back to me.
So the great news is that we've got a pretty identical data set with these identical twins, which is they're coming from the same environment, same parents, same genetic makeup, and they're generally eating the same diet. They're getting the same environmental inputs, but something happens along the way that creates an alteration in the microbiome of one or the other. And this might be something very minute or something extreme, by the way. There's a range here because what we know now is that even if you're an identical twin with identical genes, you have a unique metabolic fingerprint that's largely due to your unique microbial fingerprint. Because your microbiome has genes as well. We've got trillions of bacteria that all have their genes. If we go gene for gene in the human body,
Yeah, we are not. We are not us.
99% of our genes are bacterial. And those genetic expressions impact our genetic expressions, right? So these are epigenetic influences. And so it's going to lead to different expressions, different outcomes with our health based on what our microbiome is looking like. And so when they found a higher ratio of firmicutes in each respective twin, they would see a higher ratio of obesity, insulin resistance, right? So this is one of those, again, this is a very general classification. I'm saying this because we have a problem with black or white thinking too, right? And even making these bacteria bad. Firmicutes are not bad. Everything has its place. And we want to have optimal ratios of things, but to villainize a certain class of bacteria, even H. pylori, for example. Now, this is another dirty word and a volatile subject, but this was identified to be a causative agent of ulcers, for example. Like we found this thing that's causing these ulcers. Damn the stress, and so, but another study paralleling that, the vagus nerve is super popular now, right? What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. And this is communication between the gut and the brain. A lot of that data is the gut informing the brain, but there's this kind of information superhighway. And people that were dealing with severe ulcers, one of the treatments not that long ago, a few decades back, was to actually cut the vagus nerve and help the ulcers to go away. All right. This is not recommended.
Holy smokes. Yeah, don't try that one at home.
It was a very effective treatment because that stress input is clearly a causative agent. And just again, identify, it didn't make H. pylori disappear. They cut off the stress signal, right? But now having this deficiency because we went so hard after trying to destroy a certain class of bacteria that we have these kind of rebound conditions or what we've seen in the data. And by the way, this is coming from some of my colleagues are just the most accredited gastroenterologists in the world. One of them is Dr. Imran Mayer out of UCLA. He's been studying the microbiome for 40 years. And so seeing this decrease in H. pylori, an increase in food sensitivities and allergies, right? So was this playing a role somewhere with our immune system to relate to itself, to our bodies, to our tissues properly, right? Because again, we keep drilling down, trying to find this microorganism, this tiny, tiny little thing that's causing all these problems, and let's kill it.
Right. Well, it's just like trying to lower cholesterol too low.
Same thing. Again, it's this isolated thing. And we are not isolated beings. And this is part of the problem with the calorie paradigm and this bomb calorimeter paradigm. You're not a machine. I like the analogy a little bit better than the human body being like a calculator, being more like a chemistry lab.
Right? I actually have trademarked this phrase, is your body. And I started saying it 30 years ago, and you can imagine the heat I took for this.
Yeah, well, you were right.
All I knew was I had these clients, and back then everyone wanted to lose weight, and I would bring skinfold calipers and my little scale, and I was having them do weight training, and I was modifying their diet, and for some people it wasn't working. And everything I was being taught in grad school was like calories in, calories out. And I thought, God, they're paying me a lot of money to cheat. This is so weird, And then I got to take them away for a week, and I controlled everything. And the same thing happened. Some gained weight, some lost weight. And I had this one woman, Vicky, she had so damaged her metabolism from chronic dieting. She was obese. And if she ate more than 1,200 calories a day, she would gain weight. And back then I had no clue what the heck to do with this. Now I know what you need to do there, but it's like, holy smokes. And that's why I said, we've got this wrong paradigm. What if your body's not a bank account? It's a chemistry lab. And the crap I got, I was like, and it's like calories count, but where they come from, the source creates that. And I love this caloric impact. That's what we've got to look at, is what's the impact. And that's what's going on with your hormones. And it makes so much sense. And we talked earlier about the shift of looking at losing weight to putting on muscle and losing fat. And I know you really have done some great work in fat loss. And what I think we need to start with, because it's so confusing. Like I look back 20, 30 years ago and it was like, just don't eat fat because fat makes you fat. If you just eat carbs, it's too hard for them to turn to fat. I'm like, oh, I wish that was true.
Yeah,
we learned it wasn't. So let's talk just in, kind of high level. Someone wants to lose fat. How does our body lose fat? What has to happen?
So I just got to finish up a point here with that, because you just helped me to remember something, which is, unfortunately, we look at a calorie as this fixed object. Like a meter is like a unit of distance and it's fixed. A meter is a meter anywhere. A calorie is not a calorie in your body versus my body versus anybody else.
The calorie is an absolute number, and that's where the scientists get mad at us because they're like, it's an absolute number. I go, but
it's not.
But it's not in your body. Like in a bomb calorimeter, it's an absolute number, but it's not once it gets over here.
And I would add on to that, with it being this chemistry lab, the part that I was going to add is the environment. This chemistry lab is different versus the lab across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And this speaks to the epicaloric or epigenetic influence of all these different pieces is going to determine, again, what the calories are going to do in your body versus someone else. And so shifting over into this fat loss paradigm, I want to give people this really important heads up because it's a huge issue that most people are not talking about. And truly, if we're going to get our metabolism, our metabolic health into a good state, we're going to have to heal our brains. All right. When we think about fat loss, your brain is controlling your metabolism more than any other organ in your body. And we even know, for example, about the hypothalamus, which is kind of integration point with your nervous system and your endocrine system and this communication. And your hypothalamus is kind of like an internal thermostat that's determining your calorie expenditure in the first place. And it's also informing what's happening in your gut with assimilation of calories from the food that you eat. And for example, researchers at Yale found that, in essence, your brain could, based on its assessment of what you need, right? Your assessment of your bank account of calories, energy stored, nutrients stored, it can inform your gut to increase or decrease the assimilation of nutrients and calories from the food that you're eating. Your brain can just decide, I'm going to tamper down on the calories I'm absorbing. This isn't put into this calories in, calories out paradigm.
Trying to remember where this, like you, I am not the Mr. Dr. Google like you are here, but I remember reading, because I never remember where I read these research studies, but I remember reading about where they overfed athletes. All of a sudden, they just started having more NEAT, more non-exercise activity, thermogenesis. Their body just naturally started to move more just to liberate those calories for them. So I never thought about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But, to think of that brain control for fat loss. Now, I want to get into at that point, then, what would we need to do to have our brain support us being able to hold on to or build muscle and burn off fat?
Yes. Well, this is going to tie in with our diet as well, obviously, and it's reducing inflammation. All right. So the biggest epidemic from my perspective that's not being talked about right now is neuroinflammation, inflammation of the brain. And the reason it's not being talked about is the brain is so protective. If you've got an injury to, your leg, you can see the inflammation. If your brain is on fire, it's very, very difficult to know about until something goes completely wrong. Just like we have all of these sensors throughout our body and our nervous system to kind of give feedback if there's pain, your brain doesn't have pain receptors, so it can't tell you if it's hurting. It's this very strange cosmic joke, that the brain can tell you about pain anywhere else except in itself. this is really a game changer. And this is from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. These researchers found that as we're experiencing more inflammation in our brain, specifically hypothalamic inflammation.
And how were they able to tell that you were?
One of my friends and colleagues, NYU neuroscientist, and also her work is so incredible because she's also world-class researcher in nutrition. She's looking at the brain. We both know Daniel Amen, for example. You can do
a spec and see a brain on fire.
Brain scans
sure.
and see if the brain is inflamed. And specifically, again, it's hypothalamic inflammation. So we've got to actually look at your brain. We can't just guess on this. And so what the researchers found was that the more inflammation was rising in the hypothalamus or in the brain, the higher the rate of obesity and insulin resistance downstream.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the rub. Higher amounts of body fat and insulin resistance was causing more brain inflammation. So here's where it all ties together. Our body fat, our excessive body fat we're carrying is creating inflammation in our brain. Our brains are on fire and it's creating this vicious circle. And so to start to heal this, I'm going to give you a trigger food and I'm going to give you a solution. And this, again, backed by peer-reviewed data. Our brain is, everybody's heard this by now, is primarily made of fat, right? Now, there are some fats that are highly inflammatory. They're highly combustible. These are fats that you don't want to have around if you're having a smoke and a pancake. All right. You don't want these. And that's an Austin Powers joke.
I was like, what?
I know. Yeah. So there's going to be some people out there that get this. All right. Gold member.
For those 3 people laughing, I was like, huh?
A smoke and a pancake. But this is something that is highly inflammatory just by its nature. And I'm talking about seed oils, right? So canola oil, quote, vegetable oil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's also camps, and you know this, you get this like this ridicule, this strange ridicule that, and these are some well-meaning, whether it's a physician or a researcher who's saying, actually, this study says that canola oil is one of the best foods ever. I'm going to give you a very simple principle to deconstruct that. Is it a highly processed food? Is it an ultra-processed food? Answer that question. To take that rapeseed, the canola, and turn it into this product that's on store shelves, we have to expose it to extremely high heats, which it's taking these volatile omega-6 fatty acids, and we're creating rampant amounts of reactive oxygen species.
And there's omega-3s in there too.
There is.
Which is even worse.
Even more volatile. We're creating this massive amount of oxidation in these reactive oxygen species that when we consume it, it's just bathing in inflammation components, right? So high heat, we have to use chemical solvents to extract the oils, to quote, wash it. So you're adding in all these different chemical ingredients. Then we have to add deodorizers because it smells horrible. And the list goes on and on and on in the treatment, making this an ultra processed food. So just to deconstruct that argument piece, should that be something we're consuming? And the fact that it's brand new.
Right.
In the human story, this has only been done a couple of decades and now it's in everything. As the brain is absorbing some of these fat compounds and or your tissues are using it for fuel, it's going to create inflammation in the brain in multiple ways. So that's one aspect. What are we making our brains out of and our tissues out of? Dr. Kate Shanahan is probably the foremost expert in these oils. And she shared with me this study, again, looking at humans from the early part of the 1900s and doing a biopsy of their fat cell, maybe 2% PUFAs, these polyunsaturated fatty acids that we're getting primarily back then, even more so from Whole Foods. But this is a primary thing that's seen in these vegetable oils. Versus today, taking a biopsy from test subjects just recently, we're seeing about 20 to 25% or even more of the fat cell of the average human is now made of these polyunsaturated fatty acids. Again, very volatile. The ingredients to make up a human body has changed dramatically. So what is the solution? Swapping out that oil, because your body is hungry for oils because they're used to make our cell membranes. They're used to support and kind of regenerate our brain cells, allowing for signal transduction.
How quickly can you shift? Like, let's say you're 25% PUFA'd, you've PUFA'd, and you want to like get your balance back. Like, how do we have any clue how
we can make
quickly,
a change starting today?
A 6-month shift to shift that balance?
It takes some time because
and you'd
again,
really have to push heavier, get rid of those.
We can start the
PUFAs.
healing process because your body is so intelligent. It's always going to go for the higher quality substrate. So this was from researchers at Auburn, and they found that extra virgin olive oil, oleocanthal-rich extra virgin olive oil, is able to, number one, reduce neuroinflammation. Somehow, some way, it has this proclivity towards reducing the fire in your brain. It's because it's swapping those oils out. And also it was found to help to repair the blood-brain barrier.
I'll tell you something funny. I was doing a little interview with Dr. Gundry right before I went to Italy this summer. And so I was getting the whole olive oil thing, and then he sent me some new olive oil. And I went to Italy. I probably had a cup of olive oil every day. I had so much olive oil. It was ridiculous, but it was so great. But, his whole thing was a liter. The research for this was like a liter a week. Any clue on how much? Because that's all we do at home now is olive oil. What would it be? A tablespoon a day, 2 tablespoons a day? And then people have to understand we are not talking about an olive oil blend.
Yes,
that you have to spend the money here,
oil.
That cheap olive oil is.
And here's the thing too, I don't have a dog in the fight. My guy, Dr. Gundry, has his pristine, wonderful olive oil. I don't care. I'm just going based on the research. And also my bias is, what have humans been doing the longest, right? This is a processed food, but humans have been processing foods forever. We're not talking about ultra processed food.
Yeah, this is the first press.
This is the BMJ, and you've probably heard this or said this. 60% of the average American's diet today is ultra processed foods. You can't tell where they come from anymore. So obviously, the cereals and cookies and pizzas and all this stuff. Extra virgin olive oil, on the other hand, I encourage everybody to just go to YouTube and look at how is extra virgin olive oil made. And I highly, highly encourage you to just Google or go to YouTube, how is canola oil made? All right. And prepare to have some bad dreams. All right. Prepare to have Freddy Krueger showing up with like canola oil fingertips. All right. Because it is really, really tough to watch. And then realize that that's what we're consuming.
Well, and just taste wise, like who'd want to have canola oil over extra virgin olive oil?
Why do we use it? It's cheap. We're using it because it's cheap. The stability, preservative aspects.
I bet the bugs. I had a great nutrition mentor early on, and he was talking about margarine. I mean, there's still margarine, which amazes me that we still have margarine. But he said, you could stick that outside and the bugs wouldn't want it. And you want competition for your food. If the bugs will not eat what you're eating, you should not be eating it.
Yeah, they're running from it. And so, as far as the amount, I would encourage people, a couple tablespoons a day, at minimum. But also, again, the quality matters. What traditionally is done, it's stored in dark glass because, again, the oils are very sensitive to heat and to light. I've never seen a pristinely bottled soybean oil, because it's already shit. So it's just they're putting it in plastic bottles. It's a terrible, terrible food product that integrates itself into our tissues. And so extra virgin olive oil, that means, that first press is cold processed, bottled in dark glass. And yeah, the funny thing is, and I actually shared a couple of these studies in my latest book, Eat Smarter, on olive oil going up head to head against a long chain fats that are coming from soybean oil, for example, and seeing just the implementation of olive oil to the diet, no other changes in the diet or calorie changes for the test participants. People lost more weight by consuming olive oil. And of course, we know it's not just about the weight loss. But improving insulin sensitivity, all these other biomarkers,
healthier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The weight loss is coming as a result of improved health.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I always love things like I've built everything around swaps, so, and what I find with most people is they get into a rut. They're used to buying the same things. You have them swap something and, oh yes, it might be a little bit more expensive. However, when you look at the overall scheme of things and where you're spending money, it's like, it's really not. You look at these things now and you go, okay, you're going to spend a little bit more for the wild, a little bit more for the grass-fed, a little bit more for the extra virgin olive oil. And you probably won't be as hungry. You won't be eating the processed foods that are crappy and cost more, and you'll save money in the long term on hospital bills. So
Facts.
There.
It's a great investment. And you're the most important investment.
Exactly. You're worth it. This whole thing, when you look at things like body positivity, I go, all right, here's the real through line of that. Love yourself wherever you are, enough to take the time and the strategies and invest in yourself to make yourself your best version, your healthiest version. That's what you truly, truly deserve. Let's talk besides the seed oils, are there any other super heinous things out there that can really damage you that we should know about?
Of course, the one, but the sugar conversation has been, people have been hammering away on this, but they're missing a really important component. And this was thanks to my friend Mark Schatzker really bringing this to bear, which is not just the sugar. Now, Today, the average American is consuming about 80 pounds of added sugar annually. That's added in addition to the already existing sugars and carbohydrates in the highly processed
We're not talking
diet.
about the apple juice that you're having. It's
We're
in
talking
addition to
about
the apple juice.
added, right? Versus, again, earlier part, 1900s, a little bit prior, average American, 4 to 6 pounds of added sugars. Okay, so 10 times more plus, plus 10 times more.
And could this be a correlation as to what's happened with our health?
I mean, come on. Now, obviously, we know the ramifications. We know the impact on insulin. We know the impact on our fat cells. And our fat cells can actually, their volume can grow 1,000 times their size, right? So we can pack in a lot of stuff, but we were in a way designed to, but we're really pushing against evolution, where I would even say devolution in a sense, because when we're doing that, when we're stuffing our fat cells full of all these contents, it's sending out an inflammatory stress response. It's basically cytokine storm has become a new term, a new popularized term, but that's taking place because our fat cells are sending out a kind of a false distress signal in a sense, saying, hey, we're carrying an infection. And this is why we see these increased rates of, again, inflammation measured by things like homocysteine, C-reactive protein. We can measure this stuff, and we know that it's a ticking time bomb. This is why obesity is tied to really 7 to maybe even upwards of 9 of the 10 leading causes of death in the United States. Is, again, we're tying back to our huge shift in our consumption of sugar. But here's the piece that's missing. Would you just sit around and lick a plate of sugar? Or would you just sit around and drink sugar water? That'd be tough to really stomach. It doesn't taste good. It's not enjoyable when you add the sugar with the artificial flavors, making it taste like something. There was a big change that took place. Again, this was just a few decades ago with the invention. It's called a gas chromatograph. And scientists are able to basically identify flavors are just a chemical makeup, right? And once you can identify what those are, now you can take that strawberry code and add it to other stuff that's not a strawberry. So you can start making stuff that's not a strawberry taste like strawberry, right? So now you got strawberry ice cream and candy and cakes. No strawberries necessary. Now, here's the thing, because we'll be like, it doesn't taste like a strawberry. It doesn't have to, but it's enough to muddy up the waters of your biology. And now, through our evolution, certain flavors meant certain things nutritionally. Flavor is feedback. There's a paradigm, it's called post-ingested feedback. When you eat a food and your body absorbs nutrients from that food, it takes mental labels, biological labels. It's like, oh, I got some copper, some magnesium, I got this amount of calories from this particular food. And so if you become deficient, we have a craving for that food, right? And animals do this in nature. So many studies have been done on this. Humans, when left to our own devices, that's what we do as well. Today, though, we're existing in a paradigm where we don't have natural foods.
So we're craving a strawberry Pop-Tart.
Right.
Because we really just want the strawberry.
And we think it's intuitive eating, right?
Yeah. I love, this is such a great response to the intuitive eating piece of things, because intuitive eating doesn't work with ultra-processed foods.
When we're healthy, when our biology, when we're eating real food, when we're in an environment that is a little bit more conducive to our health, that intuition is the most important thing, because your body knows far more than any diet book or any expert what you need. But to be able to hear your body's signals and your body's cries and your body's feedback, we've got to get to a certain state of health, right? So with that said, making a shift here in our sugar consumption, ultra-processed food consumption, my advocation is we don't have to do this all overnight. And you got to pay attention to your personality type too. There are people who rip the Band-Aid
they
off,
want to do it all overnight.
right? But what I would implore people to do is simply make a shift, right? So right now, average American, 60% of their diet is ultra-processed food. Me growing up, and this is a true story, when I transformed my own health, when I was 22 years old, and I was diagnosed with this so-called incurable degenerative spinal condition at the time, I was living in Ferguson, Missouri. So this is like a really glorified food desert, right? This new term again. I was just surrounded within a 2-mile radius, every fast food place you can name, and I'm not exaggerating. And liquor stores just like on every block, like it's crazy. I was able to really take control of my health even in that environment, because there is something important speaking to the power of choice, right? But I needed awareness. Accessibility is important, yes, but I didn't know that it mattered. right? So just being aware that I could actually change what I'm making my body out of and change how I feel, all these things really start to stack conditions in my favor. Even in that situation, making the investment in myself. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. It is the most important investment because it started to pay back in so many other areas of my life. And so what I did was I shifted the ratio from, at the time, and I'm not exaggerating, I was probably eating at least 80% ultra processed foods.
Wow.
All right. I ate fast food every day unless I didn't have a couple of dollars. Every day. And if I wasn't eating fast food, then I had I had some ramen noodles, like the super cheap stuff, 10 cents a pack with that little packet of it's got like a chicken on the packet or a little beef. No chicken or beef required.
Right, it's flavor.
Right? All kinds of chemicals. Or I eat like a family can of SpaghettiOs or something like that.
Wow.
Like, this is what I was making my tissues out of. Again, I didn't know. And so when I became aware that I could do something to improve my health where I came from, all that I knew about was weight loss. That's the only thing. That's the only
And weight
thing I was
loss
exposed
relative to like just eat less calories.
Exactly.
Right.
I didn't know that my food choices would determine whether or not I had this condition, right? I didn't know that food choices influence things like heart disease that I lost my grandfather from, diabetes, my grandmother, like the list goes on and on. I didn't know.
It just makes me so sad to think that there's still people out there. Now, hopefully with the internet, this is shifting.
They're not using the internet to study this stuff, JJ.
But you look at it, all right, we're sicker now than ever. So
they're watching cat videos. No disrespect.
Are they?
A
Okay,
good cat video, cute cat video is good.
Trump,
you know what I mean? But people are not
talk.
using this to get informed. We're inundated with things that distract us. This is the golden age of television. There's so much stuff and, content creation, all the things. And because of that, we're still not at a place. And just look at our society. We're not doing well. This is the great thing about what you're doing. You're a beacon of light for real. I mean, you're the walking, talking representation of what's possible. Straight up.
And I grew up on Pop-Tarts and Captain Crunch.
Right. And so again, when we can come Phoenix rising from the ashes type of scenario, what we can do right now and your consistency and ability to create and to share this information, it's just getting to more and more people as time is going on, but not just through you, through the people that you're impacting and mind share. You've created an army of wellness warriors. And so there's a tipping point, I believe, that's going to happen or is happening right now.
I feel like the last 2 years really started making people realize what we've been saying for so long is you have to take charge of your own health. And like, yeah, I'll go talk to my doctor. And then kind of going, like, if this last 2 years didn't show us that body fat is problematic because it's going to create all sorts of other issues like it did with COVID. If you look at what happened there, you talked about the inflammatory cytokines. Well, you had to have the body fat for the inflammatory cytokines, right?
JJ, I don't know if you saw this, but I did a big treatise on this, and it was a study published by the CDC, and it was a huge meta-analysis. They looked at over 540,000 COVID-19 patients from over 800 U.S. hospitals, and they looked at the leading risk factors for death from COVID. The number one was obesity. Again, huge data set. The number one risk factor for death was obesity. Again, this isn't getting the headlines. It's more, again, we're trying to superficially treat a thing instead of removing the underlying susceptibility.
Right.
Here's the second leading risk factor for death from COVID.
Vitamin D?
No. It was anxiety and fear-related disorders.
That the whole thing created.
I'm going to give you the link to put into the show notes because this is one of those things, seeing is believing. This is published by the CDC, but
these studies that we'll ignore.
Most people are not looking at this.
Studies that we are going to ignore. These most critical things, like if there wasn't something to say, hey, you know what? Like, I think body positivity is loving yourself enough to put yourself first and take care of yourself. Because if we're saying, hey, it's okay to be any size, what the last couple of years just showed us is it's not. It's really dangerous.
It's a major susceptibility to all manner of chronic and infectious diseases. And this is not a joke. And this doesn't have to be our story. Humans, we come in so many different sizes and shapes, and that's okay. That's beautiful. But when we are inundated with a sick society, truly a society that just cultivates and encourages sickness, like again, where I'm from, where all I know is poor health. 80% of my family members are obese. That's all I saw. And all we did, we ate processed food because that was what was around us and that was what was accessible and affordable. We didn't know. Oh, by the way, the third one was diabetes, of course. Diabetes and its complications. But that second one doesn't get a lot of attention as well. And this is the power of our mind and how much our stress, and you talked about this with me earlier, impacts our biology and our health outcomes. Because you having chronic anxiety or thoughts of stress and worry, you're just setting off, again, a cytokine storm, an inflammatory cascade, because your thoughts create chemistry in your body instantaneously. And the good news is you could change your thoughts.
Yes.
You could think how you want to think. You could think the thoughts you want to think. We believe that my thoughts are just happening. I'm a victim of my thoughts. When in reality, you are so powerful. Of course, thoughts are just going to go on automatic. But like our friend Dr.
I was going to say, well, and Dr. Joe.
Automatic negative thoughts,
Yeah.
ants. Right, we
Get rid
do
of them.
have this repetition. But there's positive automatic thoughts that we can start to implement. But it takes work. And if we've been through tough times, if we've been through challenges in our lives, if we've been through traumatic experiences, it's going to start to create neurons that fire together, wire together, right? And emotion lays down a lot of myelin over thought processes as well. It takes time to create new pathways, but we can do it. If we were mandating that for you to learn about how your mind works and for you to learn about nutrition, right?
This
But
is
in
what
a
needs
soft-
to be in school.
Let me say
Exercise,
a
nutrition,
soft
meditation.
mandate, soft mandate, because we don't want to force anybody to do anything against their will, but to create a society, conditions where that is normalized, right? Because your child being able to understand their thinking, for them to manage their thoughts and their perspective, for them to manage anxiety is far more valuable than learning about the fucking Pythagorean theorem.
Right? That they won't
Which
remember.
I still remember I do.
Although
I
I've got
remember
my
it.
son's getting a PhD in math. However,
I've never used it in real life, but I remember it.
he uses it to cook. He's like the best chef with all of his math and chemistry skills. So, but yeah, just imagine if we'd started some national meditation practices during the pandemic and let everyone out to walk.
Be a game changer. Game changer.
And we gave everyone vitamin D and how to eat healthy. Just imagine. Anyway. Oh my gosh.
Ari,
we have to continue this
I thought John
conversation.
Lennon was about to start playing right there.
I'm super excited about your book. I know we can't talk about that one yet, but for everyone who hasn't read Eat Smarter or Sleep Smarter, there's definitely a theme here. So you're going to want to grab those. And I'm going to link to these studies you were talking about too. So we've got lots to link to, and I'm going to put that at jjvirgin.com/model health for your model health show. Where are some of the places? We'll also put this in the show notes, but if someone's looking you up, is it Model Health Show? Do they go to your website? Where's the best place to get you?
Of course. I mean, today, more than ever, the accessibility is so easy. Where people are listening to this amazing podcast, they can find me. It's called The Model Health Show.
I know, and that has got that's one of the top health podcasts, like it always is.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's so great. It's kind of like Billboard charts in a sense, but we've been number one in the entire United States many, many times over. And I think it's really just a testament to the care, that I'm putting into it, and also just making learning fun. So yeah, the Model Health Show, themodelhealthshow.com. That's my home online. And of course, you can find my books anywhere books are sold, Eat Smarter and Sleep Smarter. And Eat Smarter is just a absolute game changer. It came out the first week of 2021. All kinds of craziness was going on in the world, but it was a number one new release in the country when it came out. So it's very encouraging because people do care about this stuff.
Well, and you make it easy for people to put this into practice. And I think one of the things that I'm going to pull out is just take one thing in there, do that. Like if all you did right now is go, I'm going to start to make an oil change, that alone, like one thing, then do the next, then do the next. And all of a sudden you look back a year later and you're like an entirely different human.
Yeah. You're changing the ingredients.
Yes. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure.
Be sure to join me next time for more tools, tips, and techniques you can incorporate into everyday life to ensure you look and feel great, and more importantly, that you're built to last. And check me out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and my website, jjvirgin.com. And make sure to follow my podcast so you don't miss a single episode at subscribetojj.com. See you next time.